Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and we've got a little hoard of bits here. I had recently a delivery from Airsoft, which is a shop over in Taiwan. And I've got a bunch of stuff, got a couple of pistols, spare mags for the pistols. I bought just because it was on there when I was putting the order in, the VFC suppressor for the KS1. Still not sure what I'm going to do with that rifle, but I also bought the missing part for the MPX bit. So I don't know if you remember, but I bought a ton of MPX parts so I can build up a spare complete bolt for my other MPX. So that was the only piece that was missing. They had it back on the shelf, so I picked that up. So right, what do we have? So we've got spare mags, 2 pistols, one old, one new. The old one, which is in here, is a pistol that I've always said to people, this is the most comfortable pistol I have ever held, hands down, which is none other than the H&K VP9. This pistol was produced by VFC a long time ago now. I purchased quite a few of these when they released because I loved how comfortable the thing was, but the thing was probably the worst performing airsoft pistol I had ever come across. It has the same issues as what the VFC SIG M17s like the P320s has. So yeah, it's got this inherent issue where it's the blowback unit that's the problem. It doesn't help that it's also like when you've got it like this, the gun's obviously not cocked. There's a magazine there, but it is empty. You go to pull it back and there's like a ton of resistance when the hammer's down. So it takes a hell of a lot of force to initially release. And you'll probably say, well, you know, it's going to be like that after the fact. No, because if you think about it, when you're firing this thing, you drop the hammer. It's got all that resistance to come across. Then the trigger resets and then you go again. So it's just, yeah, a couple of things. This, I was kind of praying that this was meant to be like a version 2, what they were saying. Very rough texture on the barrel. You know, they're meant to have done a version 2 of it where it's got, you know, better like steel components and stuff like that. I kind of bought it knowing that that was going to be, and people say on the internet that the version 2 was a lot better, that it was going to be completely false. And I knew purchasing it that this pistol was going to be a problem. But because this kind of bought as a project, because this pistol is by far the most comfy pistol I've ever held, due to this grip, it's just, for my grip and my hands, it's absolutely perfect. It's like, I don't know, no, it's like gripping like a stress ball, and like the stress ball perfectly conforms to your fingers. This is what this is like. So this is bought as a project. I'm going to try and improve this thing and see if we can get it. If not, it's going to be a wall hanger. I couldn't, you know, righteously sell this to anybody on the pretense that it's a good pistol, because they're not. They're very bad. But that obviously came with that from ProAct, which is just a dual output. This one, however, is a newer pistol, which is the one we're going to be talking about today, which is the VFC Walther PDP. So we'll just get this out here. Very modern looking Walther. A lot of people have done content on this pistol already, and not as comfortable. It's a very chunky pistol. The slide is, and the frame are very wide. It's like a futuristic P99. But you've got optics ready straight out the box. The grip isn't horrendous. It's quite chunky, but it's not massively bad. I'm not expecting this to be a high performing pistol, because almost every VFC pistol I've ever tried, bar one, which was the FNX 45, have been that way. But we're going to persevere and see what this thing can do. So in the box, you've obviously got your manuals and bits and pieces. You have a little bag here. This tool is basically what's used for the hop. So with the slide to the rear, I believe, we put this tool on there, and that's how you adjust your hop. So nice and easy to do. You just have to remember to have the tool, because it's not got enough purchase on there for you to do it with your fingers. So also in this bag, we have a bunch of optics plates. So we've got different patterns. There's a little tool there, which I think is for the rear sight. So So we've got numbers on these. They don't necessarily say what they are, but basically a bunch of different plates, whether you've got like RMRs or the Seymours or whatever you got going on. Pop them back in there. We don't need them just yet. This little tool, I believe, is to do your sights with. So you've got a adjustable rear sight. So you've got windage. Does this do elevation? Yeah, so you've got windage and elevation on the rear sight there. Very, very nice. Means you could zero that and be very proficient with the pistol if it's a good performer. So that's everything that comes in the box. Just going to pop that back in there. And we'll take a closer look at this PDP. So you always got to be wary of, I've said this before, but you've always got to be wary of reviews on these VFC pistols, because they show the pistols to be the best thing since sliced bread. You know, it's amazing, it's super efficient, super accurate, ticks all the boxes, and then you go and purchase one like the SIG pistols that they did, and they were just hot garbage. So this looks to me like repurposed like Glock trigger components, but nice and sturdy, just like the P99. You've got this dual tab that you pull down on either side to release the slide. With the slide, I think the reason why I've got more hopes for this pistol than the older ones, let's turn the hop off here so we can get this spring guide out, because it's got like a little notch that you have to align. The reason why I have more hope for this pistol will be very apparent in just a moment. So it's got that little, like they had on the early Glocks, where you can just obviously turn the spring guide and it gives you more hop. Is the blowback housing here is a more conventional one, and you'll see when we look at the VP9 later on, the VP9 and the SIG cup here was massive. They massively made it oversized, but it was so loose fitting that it just would not seal. But more on that when we get to it. So there are a few caveats with this pistol that I've heard, some little mods that we have to do, preemptive mods, shall we say, and I can show you that now. So if we take off this top plate, it's like a plastic blanking plate here off the top of the slide. Does it want to come off? Let's loose the screws so we don't lose them. I feel like this, yeah, there we go. So we can take this blanking plate off. There we go. One thing you have to be wary about on these is this bridge. So you've got holes where your plates go into, holes where your red dot sights will screw into, but then you've got this bridge here. And you see how that nozzle gets stuck on that bridge if it doesn't quite perfectly align. So what they basically recommend you do is give this bridge, if we can focus here, this bridge a chamfer to stop the nozzle potentially getting stuck like that, because it'll do one or two things. There's a potential it could break this, but more, I think the biggest potential of it breaking is your nozzle, where the nozzle comes back, hits that, and it's gonna chip and break away this plastic. So I'm guessing that with this original plate, now you could do this one of a couple of ways. You could chamfer this, or you could just shim this section out so that no matter what, it can't come high enough to hit it. Now we'll have to look at that in future. Now with this blanking plate on, it is still able to do it. So you just have to be very careful of that. So that's something we're going to have to mod in time, just to make sure that that doesn't happen under normal use. But we'll put this blanking plate back on. The slide's very nice and lightweight. It's obviously cast to some degree. It's not machined at all from my observations, but got a nice weight to it. It's very chunky. The slide serrations are very aggressive, so you're going to get like a very good grip on this thing, even with gloves on. See if we can pull these annoying stickers off. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't. I wish they'd use like a more vinyl base sticker. They got like, usually got these paper backing on them, where it just, there we go, it just tears off. I hate that. I hate it so much. So if they could just change the material of the stickers, we wouldn't have to deal with this. But it's not the end of the world. You know, if you're really struggling to get it off, some rubbing alcohol will get them off, no problem at all. It's just something you don't want to have to be doing with a brand new gun, isn't it? So we'll scrape this label off here. A lot of my guns still have these labels on because I just can't be bothered dealing with it on the initial first couple of videos. So with the barrel here, is this a barrel that's going to come out? Can we get this out? Let's have a look. Here we go. Ooh, got a little spacer there, looks like it. So, usual things here, it's going to look very, very familiar. You know, if it works, it works. We've got some nice markings on the outer barrel here. That spacer, I think, just helps lock all this in place, stops it moving around so much. So we've got 9x19. That must be some kind of serial number. And I believe all these are like proof markings. Obviously, the number on the barrel matches the number on the slide. I don't know if these are, you know, unique for this pistol or whether every pistol has the same markings on. You'll have to let me know in the comments below if you've got one. Very easy to put back together. It's I can see this being a very like Marmite pistol. It's not going to be to everyone's taste. It is a very, very blocky pistol. Nice and easy to take apart. Let's get some gas in this bad boy. There we go. Get some BBs. We'll give this thing a quick chrono. So these are 0.3s. So we haven't got like the stack on the rounds in the magazine is quite looser fitting. This usually means you're going to get a better feed because the rounds, instead of stacking like more side by side, they're kind of like behind each other. Usually this means you get a better feed, and I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but usually when your BBs are in your magazines like this and they don't stack properly and they're a little bit too side by side, so the channel's a little bit too wide, that's when you get them locking into place and causing you feeding issues. So let's see what this thing chronos at. So 0.3 gram BBs. We're at 0.97 joules. 0.99 joules. 0.97 joules, pretty damn good. 0.969, I'm just going to read these out to you now. 0.94, 0.94, 0.94, bloody hell. 0.92, 0.93, 0.889, it jumped down a bit. 0.915, 0.887, 0.869, 0.884, 0.867, 0.87. So we shot like 16 rounds there. It's only just started to dip off, but initially it was very good. We've got a couple of rounds in there. Let me just peel these off. But for the first indication, obviously it's a little bit warmer today than it has been. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. We've obviously bought a bunch of bits for this. Most importantly, I picked up a couple of spare mags. I made sure I got the PDP mags, because there's the PDP and the PDQ, is it? Or the PPQ? There are some models that there's basically like a compatibility thing, so the older PPQs couldn't take these mags, and you know, vice versa, and I'm not going to get into that because I think Quad did a very good video on the compatibility of that, and showing you the ins and outs. So got some spare mags for it. Hopefully with a torch on it will just fit in my universal holster. And we've got some bits. So we've got a Crusader trigger that we need to put in there, which is a lot nicer than the one that's in there. The one that's in there isn't massively bad. You know, the trigger, a little bit of take up, positive wall, positive brake. You know, it's very much like a Glock trigger because it's got a Glock hammer system. This trigger is actually nice. It's flat, but not like... I don't like flat triggers that are super thin. Now this one's flat but quite wide, so it's got a little lip on the bottom as well. So I think that's going to be nice. Now this isn't as just adjustable. We could make it adjustable, of course, if we drilled a hole, put a grub screw in. I'm not even sure if I'm going to do that. We'll see in good time. The other part that we had, or we bought for it, was a magwell, which is a top shooter one. And we've got, what's going on here? Oh, I see. So that goes in there. That's how it attaches. So if we can just quickly peel this screw out. Just for now, we can get an idea. Now, it did, when I looked at this on the websites, I think this came from WGC, it's a very blocky pistol, but then the grip's very round. But I'll be honest with you, that improves the grip, because although you've got this little lip here, you don't really notice it. You put this plate on and it gives you a bit more to push against, and it just gives that grip the extra couple of millimeters that I think it needs, because it's quite a short frame pistol. If you're familiar with Walthers, it's going to feel very familiar to you, apart from obviously the grip itself. So that's going to go nicely on there. We've got a trigger to go in there. The other part that we picked up on that initial order was one of these, which is a Gun Day compensated barrel set. So that's going to go in there. Let me see if I can quickly just pull the compensator off here. Now my plan is to do a custom colour on this pistol. So eventually the grey, you don't need to sort of focus on the fact that this is grey. Now it's got a flat section there for obviously the grub screws, but you can see where they've been fitted from factory, the grub screw is tightening up here. So there's obviously a bit of space in there. So this will go on the front, so we'll have a compensated front end. It's going to make the pistol a little bit longer, but I think it will give it just an extra bit of touch. We'll obviously put a red dot there on at some point as well. It's just the problem is finding cheaper red dots that are worth their money. So we'll have a comp barrel. We'll have a nice trigger, or a nicer trigger. And we'll have a flared magwell, which I'm hoping should... Hang on, let me get this on the right way. Should make it easier for the mags. Oh, that could be a problem. So with this, with that flared magwell on, the mags don't fit. So have you got... What? What the hell is going on there? So if you put the flared magwell on, you can't put the mags in? What? So do you need different... we're going to have to get different base plates? That has a PPQ on it though. Do they all have PPQ written on it? So they've got PPQ written on them, but it's the same base plate. That's the original mag, which is still not going to work. So you buy a flared magwell from Top Shooter and your mags won't fit. To be honest, this is 2 for 2 of parts from Top Shooter that have been bad. What would be nice is if they tell you, right, you buy this flared magwell, you've got to buy our base plates as well. But do you know, as a manufacturer, like, if I conducted business in this way, there would be uproar. There'd be people in the streets with pitchforks wanting to burn down my house for, you know, creating such a problem for them. Yet a lot of these brands overseas just seem to get away with it. They can just do what they want. Yeah, this is for the VFC PDP, but oh God. But it might just be another case of one of them things where I'm the tester. I'm buying things so you don't have to. If we need some fancy base plates, of course, you know, I'm gonna have to buy them now because I like the fact of how that flared magwell felt. But what a cop out! So that's the initial overview of the Walther PDP from VFC. Shows some good early indications. Seems to work okay. I imagine it's not going to be very good in the cold, but we'll test that when we get there. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. But thank you very much for tuning in. There's the Walther PDP from VFC. Hope you like it. And like the video, subscribe to the channel if you think I've done a good job. Stick around because we're going to pimp this thing up. And as always, from me and Bench, we'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a good day.